Hello and welcome to another edition of the Water Cooler Podcast. I'm Hunter. Alongside me in a new camera angle are my colleagues Drew and Abe. We're all here today to talk to you about sustainability in marketing and the world of business. Are brands saving the planet or just selling the idea? We're going to dive into that and a whole lot more on this week's edition of the Water Cooler Podcast. All right, let's just get into it. So today we are talking about 3 shades of green, if you will. We're going to dive into 3 different brands that have made commitments to sustainability and their environmental impact and their varying degrees of effectiveness and their messaging across the board. So we are going to talk about 3 different brands. We're going to get things started off here with Allbirds, a brand that has been in the news a little bit lately, fellas. Allbirds, of course, announced they're scaling back their efforts a little bit as they ran into some troubles. But nevertheless, they have been a pioneer in the green space, making sustainable shoes with little carbon footprint. Of course, a beautiful copywriting pun there. So diving into this, when you guys familiarized yourselves with the brand of Allbirds, I mean, were you thinking that this is a brand that is truly committed to their mission, or is it just kind of a fluff piece?
Yeah. Initially, obviously they launched with the shoes, which seemed like their main initiative. And it was cool. I mean, I thought it was cool what they were doing. They were like one of the only people to actually label their products with like the carbon footprint themselves. And no one else was doing that. And it kind of like led the charge per se for other big brands to catch on and be like, okay, Jesus. Because I mean, they IPO'd at $4 billion valuation when they went onto the market. And obviously that hasn't lasted as they just sold all their assets for 39 milli. But like people were catching on and people were really interested in kind of their initiatives, what they were doing. Obama was wearing pairs. People in Silicon Valley were like all about it. Wasn't it like the Silicon Valley shoe?
Well, that's the beauty of Allbirds. Not only do they have this commitment to cutting down on their footprint, their carbon footprint, and having sustainable practices, but they were damn stylish shoes. Like they clearly were trying to take tropes of what was popular at the time around the late 2010s, early 2020s. I mean, I can definitely see some like Yeezy influence in some of their footwear. And the idea of creating a shoe that is fashionable, useful, comfortable, and also has a low carbon footprint is such a good business model, like truly. And they, like you said, Drew, they showed their commitment to that, not only in their marketing efforts, but also their basically nutrition label on their shoes of showcasing just how much carbon impact that they had, or the lack thereof carbon impact. And I thought that was a really cool thing. And it kind of dives into this big question that we're going to try to answer today. And can a brand truly be good? Can a brand truly be good and prioritize the planet? Or is every sustainability campaign, even the ones that we really love, just a calculated move to win our trust? And I got to say, I want to hear your guys' opinion on this, but Allbirds, I kind of bought it hook, line, and sinker.
You had a pair, right?
I've had multiple pairs, and they've been great shoes. I will say I've since switched over to New Balance, but anyways, just wanted to share that Allbirds is a great brand. So
I feel like though that's maybe a good thing to include though, because I think we also need to talk about, can a brand like be sustainable and can they be a good company, but can they still be successful? Because Allbirds, like sadly, isn't as successful as they once were, and like kind of have been failing. And it's like, why is that failing? And I also think it's like really, they're in a tough field. Like shoes is incredibly competitive, and also like trends. Like I feel like they were trending for a long time. And I was even looking at their social media accounts, and they had like 250,000 followers on Facebook, but their videos now were just like nobody was watching them, which was kind of depressing. But I think it's like, how do you continue that trend? Like, how do you make it sustainable, good, and then how do you keep people
a differentiator?
How do you keep people wanting to buy your shoes? Because I think a lot of people also were complaining that their shoes didn't hold up. And Hunter, you bought them, so do you think their shoes held up?
Do you mean like the lifespan of the shoe?
Yeah, like the lifespan. I think a lot of people were complaining that the sustainable materials didn't.
You are right. They were beautiful shoes. I loved the way they looked. They fit with many outfits, but specifically, I had a pair of the wool runners and then another pair of like the everyday tennis shoes. I wore them hard. I wore them, for daily use for about 6 months or so. And then they started to kind of fall apart. Granted, I did put a lot of miles on them, a lot of wear and tear, but compared to New Balance, which is my shoe of choice now, tennis shoe anyway, it's just night and day. Unfortunately, they did not hold up for a long period of time, and they got pretty holy. They became my church shoes.
Nice. Yeah, it just feels like they hinged too much of their success on differentiating themselves, or at least they thought, with sustainability. But obviously, since they're just one fish in the big sea of corporate businesses, that didn't really last. And then Nike, they've got scientists working on things all the time. And if Allbirds could do it, someone could do it better. And inevitably, that's what happened. And I think it is also something that they were trying to keep up. Once they caught onto this, they were trying to move into other markets like shirts and pants and all that stuff.
Yeah, they made like sweaters and
And I think when I was doing research, it seemed like that was actually the pivot point when they started going downhill, because they diluted their market too much and they tried to be the Nike, they tried to be the Adidas, but with sustainability initiatives at the forefront. But it just didn't, the products didn't hold up, like you were saying, and it just didn't really work.
I think a lot of the clothes were like see-through, like they had like leggings in it, just like the wool, whatever fabric was just like not good.
Well, that's just a heck of a challenge to try to break through, trying to keep with this sustainable model and cutting down on your carbon footprint, yet having to mass produce articles of clothing. Inevitably, they were going to run into some friction there with trying to strike that balance, and clearly they did. It's interesting to think, like, would they still be who they were 5 years ago if they just focused all their energy on shoes? And what would that trajectory look like if it was just focusing on one product, making it the best they can? I mean, where would they be now? It's an interesting thought.
I want to go back to your question. It's like, can you be sustainable but also scale and be successful in this day and age? Or it was something along the lines of that, which I thought was really interesting, because it does feel like it's almost counterintuitive as well when you create this brand and you have sustainability as your main sort of differentiator, but you also have to mass produce and you have to get people to catch on, unless your prices are just like insanely high, which you do see nowadays. But how do you scale and how do you actually be successful and competitive while keeping that sort of initiative?
And this leads me to Patagonia, because
that's a great segue.
I think doing more research about Patagonia, I think we originally thought that it would be like Allbirds is the best, then maybe Patagonia, and then like Amazon. But I actually think Patagonia is like way ahead of Allbirds, because, and also quickly, like I'm wearing my Patagonia fleece here that I've had for truly a decade. And I'm like, yes, I'm not wearing this like shoes, so like it's not getting the same wear and tear, but like I've had this truly for 10 years and it's technically like, they're like very open about like, hey, like we understand that we like by producing these things, we are hurting. We are part of the problem, but like we are also actively trying to do things to completely like balance it out. And like here's the proof of how we were balancing things out. And I think that's super cool. And also, they're very successful, probably more successful than Allbirds.
Yeah, that's such an interesting juxtaposition compared to Allbirds, because Allbirds' whole thing is that they're, sustainably made, they're low carbon footprint. Patagonia kind of leans into that, but their proof is in the pudding in the fact that their shirts last you a decade, right? Like it would take a hell of a lot more materials if you bought a shirt and then had to buy a new one next year once it starts getting faded. But the fact that their quality is so dedicated, that just like speaks for itself, right? Like they almost cut down on the amount of labor and energy they have to do just because they make such a high quality product. And yeah, the product really just speaks for itself.
I love me some Patagonia. Also, I think just sustainability is so embedded into their mission from the get-go. When I was doing research, Yvon I'm going to butcher the name. I think it's Chouinard. In 2022, he actually gave away his entire business, and now it's owned by a trust, which every year some like $100 million go back to, helping with climate change and creating new sort of eco-friendly initiatives.
Well, I think
super cool.
I think Patagonia is the perfect brand for that too, because the whole point of their gear is to get you outside for the most part, right? Of course, it does have its place in fashion, in more preppier circles or whatever you want to say, but their whole goal is to get you outside and get out there exploring. And the fact that not only are their clothes rugged enough to get you through many adventures, the fact that they are pumping back funds into the world, essentially, into our natural resources is just such a beautiful like marriage between the idea and also the product and the execution. It's really well done by Patagonia.
I think we should, though, just to keep things interesting, talk about the one campaign that they had on Black Friday in 2022 as well.
Don't buy this jacket.
Yeah, which was just like
why don't you tell us about it?
I will. It was like a minimalist ad in magazines, newspapers, digitalized. That was just their main zip-up jacket, like their main seller, top seller, with text over it that just said, "Don't buy this jacket." But I feel like if you look at it and deconstruct it, it does also seem like a brilliant piece of marketing, because in the end, it leads to more trust, more credibility for your brand. People are like, oh, I want to get behind Patagonia because look at what they're doing for the world. But it's a little counterintuitive, because then it led to more sales and more trust and more consumerism, which, I don't know. Is it like, was that a little too calculated? Did it seem like maybe they didn't have that intention and it just kind of backfired on them? Or
yeah, for a long time, my take on this was just that it was a publicity stunt and a really effective marketing. But honestly, since we've been in this room and I'm looking at Abe and his beautiful green pullover, I think that they were being truthful in the sense that, obviously
buy
saying
a different jacket
or buy this one and you won't have to buy another one for a long time. Like it cuts down on sort of the industry of fast fashion, right?
Yeah,
where
true.
you'll buy something that's quickly produced, something that isn't necessarily ethically sourced. So you come back and buy more and more and more. Whereas Patagonia, it's a buy it for life product, basically, unless you grow out of it or tear it or something. But I think ultimately, like, it did lead to a successful result for that marketing campaign. And I think,
which is okay. Right?
Yeah,
that's kind of ethical, because then if you appease the masses and you get everyone on your side, it is actually leading to better eco-friendly initiatives.
Yeah. Well, and also the fact that Patagonia was so aware and so bold to be able to do this, it takes away people's desire because of that brand loyalty. It takes away their desire to buy things from other companies, right? Like, I don't know, I'd imagine, like LL Bean or Eddie Bauer or, Columbia or someone like that
for the world?
maybe didn't sell as many jackets that Black Friday. It's a really interesting campaign. I love the fact that we're talking about it all these years later, because it did make such an impact.
To the audience, what do you think?
Abe, I also want to know what you think. I mean, you're the one repping the Patagonia.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I think learning about how much they donate back to like organizations and how much they actually have their footprint in like activism. Like I was like on their website and they have like links to ways you can like be a part of different like initiatives and their different movements that they help sponsor. And like I like typed in Minneapolis, Minnesota in their search, and like multiple different things popped up about like saving the boundary waters that they're involved in and help like they're like a part of that and help organize these things. And I'm like, well, that's super cool. And like, back to like the campaign they put out, even if it did lead to more sales, that is though more money they make that they can give back to like, I don't know, different environmental.
They kind of created their own little ecosystem there.
Yeah, I mean, it's super
always
cool.
Just funnels back into the environment, which is the core of their mission.
Yeah.
And I know we mentioned it earlier, but it is really refreshing that they own the fact that they know they're part of the problem. And they say it, they publicly state it. And I think that if we are rewinding to some of our other lessons that we've shared in these podcasts, goes back to being authentic. And the fact that they are upfront and telling the truth right away makes you feel okay purchasing the product because you don't feel tricked. You don't feel duped. You know you're going to get a product that lasts forever. And now you have this movement that's, charged within the brand that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like, okay, I'm actually a part of something bigger and I'm saving the planet.
Yep.
By wearing my chinchilla.
And you're going to keep coming back to Patagonia. You're going to keep buying their stuff. And honestly, not even on their environmental side of things, it is amazing the staying power that they've had in at least American culture and American fashion.
Yeah.
I remember first kind of seeing Patagonia pop up. I know they've been around for quite some time. I believe they're established in the 70s. But I remember seeing them start to pop up like when I was in high school in the 2010s. And to this day, they're still as relevant as they were then. They're still being worn every day and showcased by many. So kudos to them. They've clearly built up a loyal fan base and also are continuously striving towards their mission, which respect to them for not straying away from that. With the growth that they've had over the years and the positive trend and staying power, they easily could have shifted things, but they knew that the part that people love about them is their commitment to sustainability and their quality clothes, of course.
Well said.
Guys, I want to talk about the white whale. Amazon is just a behemoth. Look, we're not breaking news to you, audience. Abe, you mentioned Amazon a little bit earlier when kind of talking about, let's say, the good, the bad, and the ugly in terms of sustainability.
Yeah.
There's a few things that come to mind for me that Amazon has done to sort of make it known that they care about the environment. So one of them is the recycled materials for their packaging, reusing materials using recycled cardboard, etc. Basically, they ship out millions and millions of boxes. That's got to go somewhere. So being able to recycle those and keep those in their same ecosystem without using too much waste. And also, another point that I have to bring up as a sports fan, the Seattle Kraken became an NHL team a couple years ago. They play in Seattle, where the Amazon headquarters are. Amazon gets the naming rights to the arena. They don't shed light on themselves. It's not called Amazon Arena, guys. It's Climate Pledge Arena. Because when you think of Jeff Bezos, you think of his pledge to the climate and how much.
The world.
Yes, saving the world or taking it over. I don't know. You be the judge on old Jeffrey. But
one thing that blew my mind when I started to actually open my eyes to was that when you see an Amazon truck on the road, it's an electric vehicle. At least the ones that I've seen as of late, or the ones in my neighborhood. They're just like, they make that, the hybrid noise.
Yeah,
as they're,
the little hiss.
Yeah.
I think they ordered 100,000 electric delivery vehicles to reduce mile delivery emissions. Yeah.
And think about when is that actually going to pay off?
Yeah.
Like, right?
I mean, that's
just creating those.
That's like even like when you put solar panels on your house, like the benefits of that you don't receive until years and years after.
I want to poke a hole in that. Could they just not want to pay for gas? Realistically, like it probably costs a lot to fuel up that many vans.
Oh yeah.
Like, sure, they could say that it's for environmental reasons.
Yeah, true.
But also, like,
or
they just don't want to pay for gas.
I mean, that's why I feel like Amazon is the ugly, because they slap the eco-friendly sticker on almost everything to convince the masses that they are the Patagonia of delivery. But when you look at it under a microscope, you see, I mean, Amazon's whole values and mission statement is around more consumption, faster delivery, more convenience, which, if you think about it, is kind of the opposite of sustainability.
More consumerism.
It's
definitely not like don't buy this one chinchilla.
It's like buy all of them.
It's buy 10 and we'll give you a couple free.
So I mean, they have their pledges. I think they're trying to be net zero by 2040, which is pretty far away. And I mean, now knowing that AI is a part of everything, which is bad for the environment.
Right.
A lot of data centers being popped up.
I don't know. It just feels like sustainability, the label as mitigation rather than as like the mission or the science or like what I don't know how I would describe that for Allbirds, but
well, you know what's kind of interesting to me about Amazon is, of course, they try to say that their packaging is recycled and that, you know, they're trying to cut down on their carbon footprint in that respect. How many people that order Amazon packages are actually properly disposing of those materials, like the cardboard boxes? Like, think about Christmas with Amazon in the picture. You say you have a family of 5 and everybody opens up 3 packages from Amazon for a Christmas gift. Think about all that paper, all that plastic, all that cardboard. Are we really believing that everyone is mindfully throwing that away where it's supposed to be and getting back to Amazon, getting back in their ecosystem of recycling these things? I don't buy it personally. And this isn't necessarily a vendetta against Amazon. Like, their convenience does make our lives, their convenience does enhance certain aspects of our lives. But when you look at the big picture, especially compared to those other two that we talked about earlier with Allbirds and Patagonia, it's just night and day. And I really just don't buy what they're selling. And I don't even think it's the fact that they're so big and such a behemoth. I think it's just that literally the practices that they're putting into place don't always add up to me.
It's just a facade.
Yeah. And like, again, with the packaging, it's all them like putting the responsibility in like the hands of us, when it's like, it's not our responsibility necessarily. Like, they're causing so much more pollution, and that like us just making sure we recycle the bag isn't actually going to do anything, because they're doing so much more damage.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's more of like a smoke and mirrors. I don't know if that's correct.
Yeah, no,
it's
absolutely.
like not. And I also think too, an aspect that we haven't touched on with sustainability, which I didn't really even think about until we were preparing, was it's not only is it about like bettering the environment and the earth and the planet, but it's like the people at the company as well. And like, what initiatives do they have in place for their employees, specifically like factory workers, people actually like making the materials. And that's another thing Patagonia does really well with their employees. And it's something that Amazon does a terrible job with, though, is they're like factory workers, the people like making the products. It's a lot of like, third world countries where the working conditions are absolutely terrible. Like, they can get away with just paying people nothing, and it's just dangerous, and it's terrible for the environment. And yeah, it's just bad news, but it's good for Patagonia, though.
Yeah. What do you think?
When speaking of like workplace conditions for Amazon, I just always think about that story that came out a couple years ago about how their delivery drivers were on such tight, rigid schedules to get all these people their shiny packages. They had to like use the bathroom in their van because they literally couldn't spare 5 minutes to go find a bathroom. Like, they're peeing in bottles and stuff like that. Like,
that's just the way of the road, though.
Well, yeah, that is just the way of the road. I mean, I'm probably going to pee in a bottle on my way home today, but I don't know. It just kind of goes to show that, like, from the top down, they are like the classic example of a capitalist company that has taken things over, really.
I think it's more just like, can a business actually be truly sustainable and make a profound impact on the world, or are they always going to cancel out because they are playing into consumerism and consumption and having to create these products that are inevitably bad for the environment in some aspects? So is it possible to go beyond net zero and be positive?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it is. I mean, because even Patagonia, I'm pretty sure in their like 2025 like sustainable report that they put out, they were very transparent and were like, nothing we do is sustainable, which I think is very, honest, and I think kind of a nice way to go about it. And that I feel like they're reframing what it actually truly means to be sustainable, because they know like, hey, we do create clothing and it does take up water, and we do have to use resources for it.
So would it be better to not exist? You know what I mean? That's what
But then I don't get to look fly in my chinchilla.
That's true.
It's kind of like the conundrum of perpetual motion, where it's like you can't ever create something that continuously moves forever on its and generates energy for itself. Like, people have been trying to solve that question forever. And I feel like it kind of translates to this, and it would just be like too overpowered if you could just be only sustainable and have no byproduct that is unsustainable and cancel it out.
Yeah, I
give and take.
think also if you look at it from a wide lens, the world is a big place with a lot of companies and a lot of ideas. And realistically, like if there's one company that's doing all the heavy lifting and others are actively doing the opposite, then you don't really get anywhere. It's kind of like everybody has to be on board or nothing's really going to change. Yeah. That's kind of my thought on it.
But maybe like with Patagonia's like goal to like get people active in the outdoors and promote activism is getting more and more people to be on board with a certain way of life.
There's some things that are unmeasurable, but probably do have more of an impact that we see rather than just like the byproducts at the end of the day, or like what they're.
So maybe in some ways, Patagonia's advertising and marketing isn't just selling products, it's selling awareness. It's selling awareness not only of how they source their materials, but about the world that they're encouraging you to go and explore while wearing their clothes.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe that's kind of a nugget to hang on to. Yeah.
As close to perfect as you can get.
Yeah. I mean, obviously nothing's perfect, but
I
think that is an admirable mission from the folks at Patagonia.
I think so too. Well,
all right, guys, any last thoughts? Any cleanup?
This is good.
No, I think it's funny though. My thing is 3 shades of green, kind of.
Ah, yeah. Maybe you should be the picture.
Life imitates art.
I know.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Water Cooler Podcast featuring our brand new camera angle.
We'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah, we'll see how long it lasts. But either way, we hope that you liked this conversation. Be sure to like, subscribe, rate us on Spotify and Apple Music, and tune into next week's episode.
Bing, bing, bing.
Bing, bong.